Hi everyone. In today's video, I'm going to talk about the problems researchers may have if they are trying to obtain informed consent for their research. So let me explain what is informed consent, what it entails, and then I will explain what are the problems associated with that. So informed consent is what researchers have to apply for in terms of ethical agreement where the researcher informs the research participants about their research and seeks their explicit, clear agreement to participate in their study. So an informed consent normally has an approved form from the university where you have to, as a researcher, fill in the details of your research project, the nature of your study basically, and you give enough information about the participant regarding the activities it will entail, any kind of risk or harm they may face, the fact that they can withdraw from the research at any point of time, they can ask information, they can contact the researcher, that how their data will be shared, how their privacy will be protected, and also how can they reach out to the researcher if they have any questions or if they have any concerns or queries, and if they of course agree to everything, then they sign. So these are the different aspects. You don't have to inform the participant everything about your research, so you don't have to share the hypothesis, for example, but you have to share enough so that the participants can make an informed and reasonable decision on their own based on the information provided. You have to highlight any information that may pose a risk to the participants if they decide to participate in the research study. So any kind of pain or discomfort, if they will feel that during the research or data collection, that is something that you have to highlight, so that if they are uncomfortable with that, they can then provide their consent or refuse to participate in that. So they have to know that at any point of time, even if they agree, they can withdraw from the research. They are not going to be forced, or they will not be affected in any way. So often in educational research, if you are collecting data from your students, then you also have to let them know that if you are the researcher and also the lecturer, then you have to let them know that their decision to refuse to participate will be respected. They will not be affected in any way. Maybe you will not be part of the data collection process. A neutral party will be part of the data collection process, so that even if they refuse to participate on that day or decide to withdraw from the research, that they can do so, that their privacy or their personal details will not be shared anywhere unless they have provided their approval to do so. So that is the basic idea behind informed consent. Now normally there's an approved form available from the university, from the ethics department, that you have to fill up, and sometimes together with that there's a participant information sheet that comes along as well, where the participants get a copy of the information provided to them, so that they can sometimes take it home, think about it, read it, understand it, reach out to you as a researcher if they have any concerns or questions. Now of course this is about obtaining informed consent, and this is a very integral part of any kind of ethical research conducted in any area. Now there are three problems with obtaining informed consent. The first one is that sometimes informing the participants about the details of your research can compromise the validity of the research. So for example, if in your research outline, or the summary of your research outline provided in the ethics application, or your participant information sheet or informed consent application tells the participants that you are going to be observing their behavior under stress, or let's say you are training students who are going to become ship captains, and you have put them in a simulator, and you are going to create a scenario, an emergency scenario that the students then have to deal with, and you are going to be observing their non-verbal behavior. So you are going to be observing their body language. So of course, although it may not pose a risk to the students and the students may agree to be part of the research, it still informs them what you are observing, and then they become conscious of how they are behaving. They will not behave the way they would normally behave if they know that their body language is being observed or studied. So that compromises the validity of the research study to a large extent. Secondly is that sometimes some participants are unable to provide their informed consent. So it could be in the cases of children, or it could be in the cases of people who are not having a good mental health. They are having mental health issues, and they are not capable of taking an informed decision based on the information provided. In that case, you have to then reach out to the parents or the guardians of such participants, which may make it a more complicated process, a long time consuming process, and sometimes you will not get responses from the people, or they might have concerns, and not agree to providing consent as well. So that makes it a problem. Some people are purely not interested in research. Sometimes people don't want to take interest in any kind of research study. So although they are representing your research participants, they will refuse to provide any informed consent. The third problem is sometimes it's just unreasonable to get informed consent. It becomes more of a problem to get the informed consent than to not get one. So I'll give you an example here. For example, you are observing a school intersection, and you are trying to find out how many cars pass through a school intersection between morning 8 to 9, when the students are being dropped off to schools, or when there are young students walking about in the school area. How many cars are passing through a school intersection? So in that case, when you are just observing the number of cars passing through a school intersection, you don't really need informed consent of the people driving by. But however, there are some ethics rules where they say, oh, you cannot conduct a research without informed consent of the participants. So that complicates research. Another example I can give you is, let's say you are trying to study that when you walk into a stadium, it could be a football stadium, it could be a cricket stadium, it could be any sport oriented stadium. You are trying to notice how people occupy the seats. If seats are not allocated to them, then how do people occupy seats as they come into the stadium? So is there a specific place they sit? What happens to the rest of the places? How does it get occupied? Now here there is no risk to the research participants. You are not sharing any privacy or any confidential information. You are simply observing how people sit or choose their seats. And this could be thousands of people who are coming into the stadium, and getting informed consent from them becomes very complicated, or it provides a lot of hassle, and you may face challenges in getting informed consent from people who are just coming into the stadium to watch a game. So in such cases where it is not required, sometimes if you have to get that consent, it becomes more of a problem than of a ease. So this is what I wanted to share with you about getting informed consent. You have to sometimes, of course, fulfill the university's ethical requirements and get it. But if you can justify why informed consent is not required, or it could become more complicated if you get one instead of not getting one, your ethics committee may consider that, provided you can justify the reasons. So think about it. Make sure that informed consent does not affect the validity of your study, because the examiners may question you as to how you inform the research participants about the nature of your study without compromising the validity. Then you should be able to provide the justification or reasoning for that, and how you protected the validity of the study and still obtain the informed consent from the research participants. So these are some questions that your examiners may ask you, and you must address it in the chapter where you write the methodology and you explain how the ethical clearance was observed. Something that you must consider as researchers. So thank you for watching today's video. If there's something I missed, please let me know. Happy to read in your comment section, and please share, subscribe, and like the video, and I'll see you soon with my next video.